Yeah, Absolute Superman's world is falling apart. Not only is all of his efforts essentially wasted, but he has been captured and being tortured for weeks on end. But welcome back to the Hero Informer. I'm AJ, and we begin in what is essentially a dream sequence. Kal-El is not only back as a child, but back on Krypton. And we know this is specifically a dream sequence and not actually happening because back on Krypton before it blew up, what his parents did technically was illegal, but they were never judged or put on trial because of it. And likewise, we also find out that being an orphan is also illegal on Krypton. So because his parents get taken away, that makes young Kal-El here guilty, sentenced to 20 years in confinement inside of the Phantom Zone. And obviously the set of circumstances here aren't right or morally just, and Kal-El gets enraged because of it, letting his fury out and burning and destroying everybody here. Though in the real world, we see Superman is hooked up to a giant machine, undergoing surgery by Brainiac, while inside of a Lazarus research facility under the project name Son of the Demon, this of course being day one. And here we find out more accurately, it isn't dreams per se, but specifically induced visions, memories, things of the past meant to enrage Superman and push him forward. Him being put in every vile and stressful situation over and over again until his mind breaks and he snaps. Because this has been the 575th time in the last 6 hours that Kal-El has just mentally murdered the entire ruling class of his home planet Krypton. All of this done by Brainiac to please Ra's al Ghul. Because in most iterations of the DC universe, Superman is one of the most powerful metahumans, superheroes, whatever you want to call him, on the face of the planet. And here in the Absolute universe, that is no different. So of course, once you have this ultra powerful person, people like Ra's al Ghul is going to want to use him as a tool. But for that to happen, Superman has to work willingly with him. Because think about it, the easiest way for someone to commit atrocities and things they would never normally do is to make them see your point, for them to agree with you. And he's trying to do that with Superman, just artificially making his mind snap and then aligning himself with Ra's al Ghul. But Brainiac isn't the most qualified person to do this. I mean, yes, he's intelligent and most technological savvy, but the last person he toyed with and infused turned out a hollow version of their previous self, of course referring to Peacemaker Smith. And here that is the last thing Ra's al Ghul wants. Superman, if he is to be his son, the son of the demon, he has to be fully whole and fully intact. All he has to do is make the boy see the truth, how Ra's al Ghul is the truth. If Superman truly wishes to save this world from ruin, its path to salvation lies through Ra's al Ghul. And I know this is a question that some people had before with Brainiac and his relation to Ra's al Ghul. Why is he even working for him? Surely Brainiac, being a 12th level intellect, a super genius in of his own, why couldn't he just come up with a plan to take dominance and rule from Ra's al Ghul, or just leave him to go do his own devices? And the simplest answer we find out is because they possess an ultimate weapon, the Father Box, a piece of technology so advanced, so powerful that even Brainiac is afraid of it, going on to tell them that yes, Superman will be the wrath of the All Ghouls made flesh. You have my word, all I ask is that you keep that box away from me. Which makes sense, this is Darkseid's own universe, so a tool of Darkseid's creation of Apocalypse, the Father Box, is of course going to be ultra powerful and make anybody submit to it. But it's not just that. It's not just because he is being forced to make Superman snap, but he also enjoys the torture. You know, Brainiac is a sadistic robot, android, whatever he is. So he also takes a little bit of joy in this, even creating duplicates, clones of himself to do his dirty work. We also find out though, because these clones are hyper intelligent just like him, they also have free will, even if it is more limited and under his control. Because as one of the clones go out to say, in regard to the Kryptonian meteorite that they're using to keep Superman docile and that they're using to do surgery on him to torture him, some of us thought perhaps kryptonite might be a more efficient name for the substance. But the original Brainiac just makes him cut off his own tongue for speaking out of line, and the clone does as much. But Brainiac continues on, saying now directly to Superman, Kal-El, I've read your brain. I've seen your memories, every second of your sad little life. Such a tragedy what happened to Krypton. I can see why you think you want to save these poor humans from their own self-destruction. But I've been here among these humans since 1938. So believe me when I say that once you let yourself kill a few million of these helpless little sacks, you'll see that's exactly the sort of help these people deserve. Superman, though, in his own mind, completely just raging and being pushed to the brink of mental collapse by these visions and torturous nightmares almost. Though it isn't just Superman being tortured, but also his allies in the form of Lois Lane and the other Omega Men, who had turned out the entire Omega Men organization was nothing more than a ruse, all carefully planned under Ra's al Ghul, and of course led by his daughter Talia al Ghul. But this little interaction here is actually very informative, because Talia al Ghul goes on to explain the entire plan of Lazarus and what they want to do with Superman. Because Lazarus and the Omega Men, the two organizations and groups that were fighting against each other, were always two sides of the same coin. It's It's all been a lie. Heck, the entire world is a lie. All life on Earth is corrupted, down to their very atoms. If left untended, humanity will consume itself and everything it touches. So all that stands between survival and apocalypse is the hand of the undying shepherd of a man, Ra's al Ghul. Of course, making Ra's al Ghul some sort of God parallel, or more accurately, kind of like a Jesus parallel. Ra's al Ghul on Earth serving under the Omega or dark side, who is off in the cosmos or whatever have you. Talia continuing to say, yes, she will rule by her father's side, as they forge a new world from the ashes of the old. A new world with order, merit, resources, and a purpose for all. Of course, once they thin out the herd and kill a few useless billions, and the Superman shall lead the way. As we speak, Brainiac is dragging him brain first down. Soon that little child of Smallville will turn this planet red. And the response of Lois Lane is essentially that will never happen. Superman is strong, not only physically with his powers and whatnot, but mentally and morally. But Talia knows this. Heck, she even says she knows him better than you ever will. The father box tells her everything. And how Superman has a breaking point much like every other sentient creature. And once he has reached it, you will see for yourself, as his final test will be to kill both of you, both Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen. Which is a pretty tall order to ask for, but one that might come into reality if Brainiac continues to torture Superman and break his mind. As we cut over to day 5 now, yes, 5 continuous days of full-on mental torture, making Superman relive his worst and most violent memories. Us finding out that he has made it to phase 4. In the last hour, he has experienced and went through visions and situations of killing 8,577 peacemakers. But this time it seems it's different, as it seems like he has woken up into real life, breaking out of whatever illusions or visions that they were forcing upon him, and instantly going to grab Brainiac by the neck, starting to squeeze the life out of him, confronting him about what he said before about killing millions of people. But Superman isn't going to turn out like Brainiac. No, he's not going to kill millions, just one, just him. But before he can just squeeze the life out of Brainiac, choke and end this psychopath once and for all, suddenly he stops himself. Not because anybody forced him to, but this is just not him. This is not who he is. Even going on to turn to the other Brainiacs, the clones present, not only asking for help, but saying that he sees the way that the main Brainiac treats them. Basically prisoners just like him. You deserve better. You deserve liberty. Maybe if we work together we can. But before he can finish his sentence, he is just then hit with a wave of incapacitating pain. Because as it so seems, the entire thing was another vision, another fake program. It's almost like Inception, you know, he never really woke up. He was just dreaming about waking up. Yet in reality, he is still under kryptonite and on the operating table with Brainiac fully intact. And you would think because Brainiac didn't actually almost get killed, he would be happy about this. But no, that is what he wants. He wants Superman to snap and kill him. Push him far enough where he abandons his morals and resorts to murder, because that would be the logical thing to do. Superman has gotten captured and is being tortured. If you had as much power as Superman did, why wouldn't you attack and end your captors if you had the chance? In the very fact and reasoning that Superman isn't doing this, it's what's really tearing Brainiac apart, as when we move over to day 12 now, Brainiac and his whole operation is completely stumped. Superman has not progressed past phase 4. And to make matters even worse, his clones or subordinates actually take the words that Superman said to them to heart. How they deserve better, they deserve freedom and liberty. Unsurprisingly though, the main Brainiac doesn't see it that way and instead decides to cut all of them to pieces, killing all of them one by one. Brainiac though also gives credit where credit is due, speaking to Superman, saying that it is a privilege to pillage the brain of a being such as this, a man who rewrites hardwiring and code with his whispers and inspires a rebellion in a pack of walking toasters. But no matter what and no matter who has to die, he will eventually progress and snap and break. Speaking of breaking, we move back over to the prison facility where Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen are being held. Well, held, but not for long, as Lois Lane's father comes to the rescue, breaking them out. Her father being a retired general within Lazarus itself, so he pulled some strings and was able to get into prison undetected and allowing him to break them out here. But before they can leave, there's someone else they have to save. Someone who, if they don't save, could literally spell the end for the entire planet as they know it. Of course, referring to Kal-El or Superman. Though in another one of Superman's visions or dreams or whatever you want to call it, we see he has progressed from his home planet Krypton to now on the Kent's farm. Of course, reliving the time where Lazarus took him away from the Kent's family and essentially started the downfall of his life here on Earth. Except here now Kal-El has had enough. Whereas before he ran away from the Lazarus trying to capture him, here he says no, not anymore, deciding now to destroy them and everything that they have here. Even Ra's al Ghul himself makes an appearance, telling Superman, bravo, I knew you could do it. You were sent here for a reason, to save the planet. But as you can see, you can't do that without a little bit of blood on your hands. After everything you've endured, you deserve this. To free yourself like this, you deserve liberty. And you know what Superman's response to all of this is? Yeah, to literally pluck his heart out of his very chest, killing Ra's al Ghul, or at least in his fake program reality that he is in. And from here, everything starts to collide and happens at once, because back over in the actual reality, we see that Lois Lane and the group have found Superman, even shooting Brainiac through the chest. But even as they try to unhook Superman from all this machinery, they're still in a very fortified and heavily defensive base, meaning they're not simply just out of time, but things could turn deadly at any second, as we see that exactly happening. Her father being stabbed through the skull. Talia al Ghul herself is back now with a squad of peacemakers. Of course, their only salvation in this situation is for Superman himself to wake up and save all of them. Except right now, that might be the worst thing to happen, because inside of his head, Kal is almost reaching his breaking point. Talking with the programmed vision of the Kents, Brainiac finally decided to switch his programming, because yes, instead of just pushing Superman to anger for revenge and to lash out, he's seen that that wouldn't make him break, so instead he decides to play on his heartstrings. The Kents going on to tell Kal that this should have never have happened. We should have been together, except Lazarus took that from us. They took you. We were wrong before to tell you to run. There is no safe place for you anywhere on this planet. Not unless you fight for it. Kal, of course, continuing on saying that he's been trying, but everyone keeps just telling him who he is supposed to be. But the Kents just continue saying, "We know, Kal, we see you, we've seen it all, so believe us when we tell you that we are not only proud of you, but what you have done here. So just keep doing it, son. Get out there and kill them all." And with that, Superman snaps and wakes up, busting through the machinery and kryptonite keeping him in place, and now for the first time waking up to real reality. Except here, he says nothing, not a word. His body almost moving on pure instinct, pure determination and focus, grabbing Brainiac by the neck just like before. Except here, it doesn't seem like he's about to stop, like he's about to spare Brainiac and save everybody else. And even when Soul, the artificial intelligence in his suit, comes back online, even the suit itself cannot reach or stop Kal-El. Superman at this point has been pushed so far, 2 weeks of continuous torture, until seemingly it worked. He broke, he snapped, and is going to do exactly what his parents said. Get out there and kill them all, as the entire facility, the building, just explodes from Superman's rage and Superman's power. Yeah, a pretty bleak and dark cliffhanger that we're left on here. The one that we're going to see more of next time as this issue and video comes to a close. As always, this was AJ here at the Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.